Hello, Bible readers. It is Wednesday, June 9th. We're reading from Ezra 1-3 and 1 Peter chapter 2. Originally, Ezra and Nehemiah were considered a single work called Ezra. It's a lot like how 1st and 2nd Chronicles used to just be one big Chronicles. And it's thought to be closely related to Chronicles as well, Ezra and Nehemiah. Most scholars think all these books, Ezra, Nehemiah, and both Chronicles, came from the priestly Levitical school of thought in the Second Temple period. That is the source of all these theologically historical stories. Now you might wonder, what are we talking about with the Second Temple period? Well, in 539, that's a big date in Hebrew history, Cyrus the Persian defeats the Babylonians. And after he and the the Persians do that, he allows exiles to return to Jerusalem to build a new temple, the Second Temple. Once that Second Temple is built, that's the Second Temple period. Ezra and Nehemiah, then, what these books are going to be doing, what they'll be about, they recount the return of the exiles and all the decisions that go on behind the scenes in order for basically a new Jerusalem, a new Israel to be made. There's three phases that Ezra and Nehemiah remember. One is the initial return and rebuilding. The second will be the work of Ezra as he establishes Torah law as a kind of constitution for Second Temple Judaism. And then the third phase is the work of Nehemiah on rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. So Ezra is more of the kind of the policy wonk in government, as he's going to be lifting up Torah. Nehemiah, I've always thought of him as a builder. Not to say that's all that either one of them are, but that's the primary drive of what each of them are doing. It is theological history, like Chronicles, which, this Levitical school that writes it, they're trying to make sense of where God was in the midst of very changing times. Okay, so 1 Peter, this second chapter, it was interesting to me as I was reading it, and it was saying, you are a chosen race, royal priesthood, holy nation, God's own people. This whole idea that we are a chosen people, about 100 plus years ago, 120 years ago, the big controversy in the church, especially the Lutheran church in this area, was a controversy around predestination and what Martin Luther said about predestination in our Lutheran doctrine. And it is a really hard conversation to wrap our minds around. If God is outside of time, doesn't God know what's going to happen before it happens? And if that's the case, for me, it falls in the category of there are some things that humans just aren't built to understand. Predestination tries to describe things that are indescribable. I could go deeper into all that, but I won't, because I only have like a minute left. Those who believe and those who do not believe both see Jesus Christ. For believers, Jesus is the cornerstone, or the capstone of their lives as individuals and in community. For unbelievers, Jesus is simply a rock to be rejected. What makes the difference between the two ways of seeing is faith. The dispute then is not about whether Jesus ever lived or about the reports of his words and deeds. They dispute what God did through Jesus, if God did anything at all. Those who hear the story in faith praise God for God's wonderful deeds. Those who do not hear the story in faith laugh and stumble. It complicates this discussion that for 1 Peter, as for much of the New Testament, the distinction between those who have faith and those who do not is found in the call and predestining of God. But the Christian testimony from the beginning has been something like that. It's not the smartest, the most pious, the most virtuous, who know that Christ is cornerstone and not stumbling block. Rather, those who have faith know that Christ is the way. And that faith is always a gift, not an achievement. One way to insist that faith is a gift is to say that it is destiny and not achievement that makes faith possible. Maybe it's just the word of predestined that throws us off, but bottom line, it's an interesting conversation to have of what makes some people have faith while others do not, because it obviously isn't just an intellectual task or something people work into. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.